Have you ever made a decision with full confidence, but then stopped when it was time to act? Do you find yourself thinking, what if I fail, even after choosing your path? Why is it that even a clear decision feels heavy when it's time to walk the first step? A boy once decided to wake up every morning at 5 a.m. to change his life. On the first day, his alarm rang. He opened his eyes, but instead of getting up, he said, just 5 more minutes. Those 5 minutes turned into 1 more hour. And that decision, so clear the night before, was left behind in sleep. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we bring you the power of ancient teachings in modern life. If you're someone trying to build discipline, mental strength, and peace through your journey, this channel is for you. There's so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribed. So please, don't just watch and scroll. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to support Wisdom Woven. It truly helps. Now, let's begin. The moment you decide to do something, life will immediately start testing that decision. Not always in big ways, but often in small, quiet ways. A little resistance, a little self-doubt, a little fear. That's normal. Buddhism teaches that our mind is always changing. It's like a river, flowing, shifting, never still. So your decision today will be tested tomorrow by your changing emotions. But if you wait for the perfect feeling, you may never act. In Buddhism, commitment isn't about forcing yourself. It's about being aware of your thoughts and not letting them control your action. Once you decide, the act of doing must come from awareness, not emotion. Don't expect motivation every day. Expect struggle. But decide anyway and do it anyway. The Buddha didn't wait for comfort. He left his palace, walked into the unknown, and never turned back. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. Your path won't be easy, but it will be clear if you learn to walk with your decision, even when your mind resists. Start small. Wake up when you said you would. Speak when you promised yourself you would. Meditate when your mind wants to scroll. Do it, not for the result, but for the strength it builds in you. And always remember, once you decide, do it anyway. Sit down, my friend. You have already made the decision. You already know what you want to do. But still, your feet won't move. Your heart feels heavy. Your mind is confused. You keep asking yourself, should I really do this? Or what if I am wrong? This hesitation is not because the path is unclear. It is because doubt has entered your heart. Let me tell you a truth I have seen in many lives. Doubt is more dangerous than failure. Doubt is like a fog in the mind. It makes you question what you already know. It makes you look backward while trying to move forward. And it steals your energy one silent moment at a time. Do you know what happens when a traveler begins walking and suddenly stops to look back every few steps? He loses his rhythm. He loses his strength. He walks a little, stops, walks a little more, stops again, and in time he no longer moves. Not because he didn't have the power, but because doubt made him forget where he was going. In Buddhism, we speak of the 5 hindrances, and one of them is doubt. Not the kind of doubt that asks honest questions, but the doubt that whispers, maybe I'm not ready, even after you've already taken the first step. It is this doubt that weakens your spirit. There was once a young monk who came to the monastery full of energy. He shaved his head, wore the robes, followed the rules. But after a few weeks, he came to me and said, "Master, I don't know if I can stay here. I think maybe I made the wrong choice." I asked him, "Do you want to leave?" He said, "I'm not sure." I asked, "Do you want to stay?" He said again, "I don't know." I smiled at him and said, "Then sit here. Don't leave. Don't stay. Just sit in your doubt and look at it. Don't escape it. Just observe." He sat. He sat for hours. He did not try to fight the doubt. He did not try to make it disappear. He just watched. And slowly, the fog cleared. He realized his doubt wasn't about the monastery. It was about himself, about whether he believed in his own strength. And this is what I want you to understand. Your doubt is not always about the outside world. It is about your own reflection. The path you chose, the action you planned, nothing is wrong with it. But inside you, a part of your mind still wants comfort. That part says, maybe there's an easier way. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I'm not good enough. But what if you don't need to listen to that voice at all? In Zen, we say, When the mind hesitates, the body stiffens. That is why we train not only the mind, but also the body. We move, we sit, we act, even when thoughts are swirling. Because action taken in stillness clears confusion faster than thinking ever can. Let me tell you another story. There was a farmer who wanted to cross a river. He built a small boat, but when he looked at the water, he felt afraid. What if the river is too deep? What if the boat breaks? So he stood there and waited. 1 hour passed, then 2. Then the sun began to set. He hadn't crossed, and he hadn't gone home. He just stood frozen by his own thoughts. Finally, an old traveler came by and asked, "Why are you waiting?" The farmer said, "I don't know if I should cross or go back." The traveler smiled and said, "Then you will stay here forever, half on one side, half on the other. There is no life in the middle." And that is what doubt does. It traps you in the middle, not on a mountain, not in a valley, just stuck, tired, frustrated. So what can you do when doubt arises? Don't fight it. Don't panic. Don't believe it right away. Just sit. Just breathe. Let the doubt talk, but don't let it lead. Remember this. The appearance of doubt is not a sign you're on the wrong path. Many people think, if I'm unsure, maybe this is not meant for me. No, doubt shows up when you're close to change. It is the last resistance before you break your old pattern. In fact, if you never feel doubt, it means you're staying in the same place. Because only real decisions, big ones, deep ones, bring doubt with them. Now listen carefully. You do not need to remove doubt to act. You only need to not let it stop you. A Zen student once asked me, "Master, how do I know my decision is right?" I told him, "You don't, but act as if it is. Then time will show you. But if you wait for perfect certainty, you'll waste your whole life." Life doesn't offer full clarity before you move. It gives you clarity after you move. So the next time you feel doubt after deciding, pause. Take one deep breath. Then take one small action toward your decision. Just one, not 10, not all at once. One step. That single act will begin to loosen the grip of doubt. It will remind your heart that it is stronger than your fear. And here's something else. Doubt grows in silence, but it shrinks in movement. The longer you sit without doing anything, the louder your doubts become. But the moment you begin doing, even in a small way, the mind starts to shift. Wash a dish. Make a phone call. Write one sentence. Walk 10 steps. That's enough. In Buddhism, we say, right effort brings right energy. You don't wait for motivation to come. You create it by showing up. My dear friend, you're not weak for feeling doubt. You are human. Every warrior feels fear before the battle. Every monk feels hesitation before the path. The difference is they do it anyway. So take this to heart. Doubt is not your enemy. But if you listen to it too long, it becomes your master. You've already decided. Now your job is not to decide again. It is to stay with that decision, even when your thoughts become loud and your confidence becomes small. You will forget this tomorrow. That's okay. Just remember again, and again, and again, because every time you ignore the doubt and take a step forward, you grow. And that, my friend, is the true path of strength. Come, sit with me. Let the noise of your mind settle, like still water in a quiet pond. You made a decision. You've felt doubt, and you've chosen not to stop. Good. But now comes the part most people do not talk about, the slow space between impulse and delay. This is where many lose their way, not because they gave up, but because they got pulled too far to one side. There are 2 dangers after a decision. The first is to rush, driven by impulse. The second is to wait too long, lost in delay. In Buddhism, we do not walk in either extreme. We follow the middle way, a path between the fire of rushing and the sleep of waiting. Let me explain it like this. Imagine a man standing before a field. He decides he will plant a tree. In a burst of energy, he runs to the field, throws seeds everywhere, pours water quickly, then leaves, thinking his work is done. A week later, he returns and sees nothing has grown. Angry, he says, "Maybe it wasn't meant to be," and never returns. Now imagine another man. He stands in front of the same field. He thinks, "I should plant something." But he stands and stands, thinking, doubting, delaying. He plans. He reads. He waits for the perfect day, the perfect weather. He waits so long that seasons change, and he never plants anything. Both men failed. One moved too fast. One didn't move at all. The truth, my friend, lies in the space between. In Zen, the middle way means moving with balance. Not too fast, not too slow. Not ignoring fear and not being trapped by it. Just steady. Now listen carefully. When you decide to do something important, something that will change your life, your energy will rise suddenly. You will feel inspired. You may even feel unstoppable. But that energy is temporary. It's a visitor, not a permanent friend. If you depend only on that fire, you will burn out when it fades. So the Zen path teaches you to slow down just enough, to move with care, not rush with force. There's a story we often tell in the temple. A young monk wanted to become enlightened quickly. He asked the master, "How long will it take if I work hard?" The master said, 10 years. The monk said, "What if I try harder?" The master replied, "Then 20 years. The monk was confused. "Why longer if I work harder?" The master smiled. "Because your focus is on speed, not on seeing clearly." That is the lesson. Speed can blind you. Sometimes when you rush to reach the goal, you forget the path itself. You miss lessons. You miss signs. You even miss the mistakes that could teach you more than success. And yet, we must also speak of the other danger, delay. Some people wait and wait, always preparing. They tell themselves, "I'll begin when I'm ready. I'll act when the fear is gone. I'll start when the moment is perfect." But that moment never comes. And years pass like sand slipping through fingers. Waiting is often dressed like wisdom, but sometimes it's just fear in disguise. So what must we do? We must walk with awareness. Buddha never said, "Rush toward the mountain." He never said, "Sit and wait at the bottom." He said, "Walk. One step, one breath, one thought at a time." Let me show you a way to move without falling into either trap. Each morning, ask yourself only 2 questions. What is one step I can take today toward my decision? What is one thing I must let go of that slows me down? Not 10 steps, not the whole mountain, just one. That's all. This is the middle way, not controlled by impulse, not frozen by delay. Now let's go deeper. When you live with impulse, you act before you feel. You say yes before thinking. You promise more than you can give. You move fast to avoid fear. But behind that speed is often anxiety. When you live with delay, you think too much. You try to control every part of the path before walking. You seek guarantees, but life offers no guarantees, only opportunities. So what happens when you walk the middle way? You start to listen, not just to the noise in your head, but to the silence between your thoughts. You begin to see clearly. You realize that every day is enough time to take a step, and every step is enough progress. You no longer need to prove anything. You no longer try to escape fear or chase motivation. You just walk with intention. In Buddhism, intention is the seed behind every action. If your intention is pure, your step, no matter how small, is strong. But if your action is rushed by fear or delayed by doubt, your feet become heavy. This is why we meditate, not to escape action, but to prepare for right action. When you sit in stillness each morning, you are not doing nothing. You are preparing your mind to walk with balance. You are clearing the dust before you take your next step. Let me ask you, can you take a single calm breath before acting? Can you make space for one deep pause before rushing? Can you notice when you're about to delay again and gently return to your decision? These small moments, this inner attention, is the middle way. And you will notice something magical. When you stop rushing and stop delaying, your decision begins to grow roots inside you. You start trusting yourself more. You no longer need to prove your path to anyone. You simply walk it. This is how the Zen masters move, slowly but without stopping. One step forward, one breath in, one breath out. Over time, mountains are crossed without force. There is no glory in rushing. There is no pride in delay. There is only peace in showing up fully. And so, dear friend, take this to heart. If you feel rushed, pause. If you feel stuck, begin. If you feel fear, breathe. And if you feel unsure, return to the step you are on. Not the end, not the start. Just now. This is the middle way. This is how decisions turn into transformation. You do not need to run. You do not need to wait. You only need to walk steadily, mindfully, gently. Once you decide, do it anyway. But not too fast, not too slow. Just right now. Come close, my dear one. Sit beside me under this tree. Let the wind calm your mind, and let this silence touch your heart. Today, I want to speak with you about something that visits every traveler, every doer, every soul who dares to act. Fear. You see, many people think that fear comes before they make a decision. But the real fear, the deep, sharp one, comes after the decision is made. Yes, that's when it speaks loudest. When the path is only an idea in your mind, fear is still sleeping. It's quiet. It watches from the corner. But the moment you take your first real step, fear wakes up. It rises like a wave. It starts whispering, no, shouting, are you sure? What if it doesn't work? What if you're not ready? What if you're making the biggest mistake of your life? It is in that moment, not before, when your courage is truly tested. And if you don't understand this truth, you might turn back, thinking the fear means something is wrong. But listen closely, for this is important. Fear doesn't mean stop. Fear means something real is happening. When you commit to a path, when you say, this is what I will do, you stir something inside you. Your old self begins to shake. Your comfortable patterns begin to break. And fear? Fear is just the voice of that old self, begging you to come back. But the path of growth never goes backward. There's a story I will tell you. A young woman once came to me in the monastery. She had left her job, left her city, left a relationship, because her heart told her there is something more. She was brave. She had made her choice. But within a few days of arriving, she sat in front of me, tears in her eyes. She said, Master, I think I've made a mistake. I feel so scared. I feel lost. I can't sleep. My chest is tight. My mind is full of thoughts. Maybe I should go back. I looked at her and asked, when did the fear begin? She said, the moment I sat alone in my room after arriving. I smiled softly and told her, that fear you feel is not a sign of a wrong choice. It is the pain of the shell breaking. You're being born into something new. She looked confused, so I explained further. Have you ever seen a chick hatch from its egg? Inside the shell, it is warm and safe. The chick has food, comfort, silence. But one day, it grows too big for that small shell. Its body aches. Its wings are tight. It pushes. It scratches. It feels pressure and fear. And then it breaks free. That moment when the chick is breaking the shell. It feels like dying, but in truth, it is being born. This is what fear after commitment feels like. It is the death of your old world. The death of safety. The death of the person you used to be. Of course it feels frightening. Of course your heart beats faster. Of course your mind says, go back. But I tell you now, stay. Breathe through the fear. Sit with it. Let it pass through you. Don't fight it and don't feed it. You're not the fear. You're the one watching it rise and fall. Buddha once said, there is no fear for one whose mind is not filled with desires. This means, when you let go of wanting everything to feel good, or be easy, or go perfectly, fear begins to lose its power. We fear because we want control. We fear because we want guarantees. But life, my dear friend, offers no such thing. In Zen, we walk not because the path is clear, but because the path is true. Even the Buddha, before his awakening, sat under the Bodhi tree for 7 days. During that time, fear came to him in the form of Mara, temptation, illusion, doubt, and terror. Mara showed him all the things that could go wrong. He was offered pleasures, then threatened with pain. Still, the Buddha sat. Still, he remained. And what happened? Mara vanished. Because fear has no power over a still heart. You don't need to fight fear. You only need to remain still and act anyway. Now let's talk about what fear does in daily life after you commit. You decide to start your business, but fear says, what if you fail? You decide to speak your truth, but fear says, what if they judge you? You decide to take care of your health, but fear says, what if you're too late? These questions will come again and again, but you don't answer them with words. You answer them with action. When fear says, what if you fail? You say, then I'll learn. When fear says, "What if they laugh at you?" You say, "Then I will stand taller." When fear says, "What if it hurts?" You say, "Then I will breathe through the pain." And step by step, the fear becomes quieter. Not because it disappears, but because you stop giving it your attention. Fear only grows when you feed it. In Zen, we use the word mu. It means no or empty, but not in a negative way. It is the quiet space you create when you choose not to react. When fear speaks and you do not answer. When thoughts come and you just watch. That is mu. That is freedom. You must understand, the brain is designed to protect you. It looks for danger. And when you commit to something new, your brain says, danger, unknown, change. It's just doing its job. But you are not your brain. You are the awareness behind the thoughts. You are not the panic. You are the witness. And once you learn to witness, fear becomes smaller. Now I'll share a small practice with you. Whenever fear speaks loudly, do this. Sit, close your eyes, take one deep breath in, hold, then breathe out slowly. Ask yourself, is this fear or is this truth? Then ask, what is the one small step I can take anyway? That's all. Not 5 steps. Just one. Because even one step taken in fear is a step of courage. Let fear come. Let scream. Let shake your hands and heart. But walk anyway. You will not feel brave in that moment. You may still feel scared. But later, you will look back and realize that moment, right there, that was where you grew. Growth does not feel like confidence. It feels like trembling hands and steady steps. It feels like walking in the dark with no guarantee, but doing it because your heart says, this is right. Fear wants comfort. Your soul wants freedom, and you cannot serve both. So choose your soul. Choose your path. And when fear gets loud, smile gently. Say, I hear you, but I'm walking anyway. That is the way of Zen. That is the way of strength. And that is the only way to turn decision into transformation. Come, sit down with me again. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath slow. Look around. The trees are not rushing to grow. The birds are not singing to be applauded. The wind does not expect thanks as it moves through your hair. They all do what they do without waiting for reward. This is the path I will speak of today. You've made your decision. You've walked through doubt. You've sat with fear. Still, you move forward. That is beautiful. That is rare. But now, another question arises in your heart. Will it work? Will this bring the result I want? Will all this effort be worth it? And slowly, without you noticing, your attention shifts from the doing to the outcome, from a step to the finish line. And that shift, my friend, is where suffering begins. In the teachings of the Buddha, one truth is always repeated. Attachment is the root of suffering. And one of the deepest attachments we hold is to results. We plant a seed and immediately start imagining the fruit. We speak from the heart and wait for the praise. We start a journey and we already want to arrive. But the Zen way is different. The Zen way says, do it and let it go. Let me share with you the story of the archer. There was once a skilled archer in the village. He could hit any target from any distance. People called him a master. One day, a Zen monk passed by and asked, what do you aim for when you shoot? The archer replied, the center of the target. The monk said, no, that is why you will suffer. The archer was surprised. What do you mean? The monk replied, you are too attached to the bullseye. So when the wind changes, you blame the wind. When your hand trembles, you blame your body. You have made success your master. Shoot with full presence, but release the arrow without craving for where it lands. That is true mastery. Do you understand? We live in a world that teaches us, work hard and you will get results. And sometimes, yes, it happens. But sometimes you work hard and the results don't come. Or they come slowly. Or they come in a form you didn't expect. And then, if your happiness was tied to that result, what happens? You feel pain. You feel failure. You feel cheated. Not because your action was wrong, but because you were attached to a promise that life never made. In Buddhism, this is called non-attachment to the fruits of action. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough to give your best effort, but you trust enough to let go of control. There's a great peace in this. Let me ask you something. Can you write a book, even if no one reads it? Can you help someone, even if they never say thank you? Can you train your body, even if no one notices the change? If you can say yes to these questions, you are walking the Zen path. Because real strength is not in the result. It is in the intention behind the action. There was once a young monk in our monastery. Every morning, he would sweep the leaves from the garden, and every afternoon, more leaves would fall. One day, he became frustrated. "Master," he said, "no matter how much I sweep, the garden is never clean." I smiled and told him, "Then stop sweeping for a clean garden. Start sweeping because that is your path. Let the leaves fall. Let the wind blow. Just sweep." The next day, he swept again, this time with a soft smile. He had found peace, not in controlling nature, but in releasing himself from the result. This is the way we must live. If you're doing something only because of what you hope to gain, your joy will rise and fall with every outcome. But if you act from the heart, without clinging, every moment becomes meaningful, even if the world doesn't notice. Let me give you an example from daily life. You decide to wake up early and go for a walk. The sky is cloudy. You hope for sunlight, but you walk anyway. You hope to feel energized, but you still feel sleepy. Still you walk. You hoped it would make your thoughts clearer, but your mind is noisy. Still you walk. That is Zen, because you are walking not for perfect weather, not for perfect clarity, but because you said you would. And that kind of action transforms you. Slowly, deeply. Let's take another example. You choose to be kind to someone. You offer your help, but they ignore it. They don't appreciate it. They maybe even walk away. Now, if you were kind only for the praise, you will feel hurt. But if you are kind because it is your nature, you will feel peace. In Buddhism, this is called karma yoga, doing the right action with love and without attachment to the fruit. So how do you live this way? Start with a simple shift. Every time you act, whether it's a decision about your career, your body, your relationship, your dream, pause and ask, am I doing this to control the outcome? Or am I doing this because it feels true? If it feels true, then do it. And once you do, let it go. Don't look back. Don't keep checking. Is it working? That is the mind being greedy. Trust the timing. Trust the unfolding. I once planted a seed in silence. I watered it daily, without talking about it, without checking it every hour, without digging it up to see if it's growing. Years later, it became a tree, and I still don't know the exact day it became one. Life works in silence, in mystery, in ways beyond our logic. So don't let the desire for results poison the purity of your decision. Do it anyway. Do it when you're tired. Do it when it's slow. Do it when no one claps. Do it because it makes you stronger, kinder, clearer. This is the real path of freedom. There's one last thing I must tell you. Even your spiritual journey, yes, even that, can become polluted by attachment. Many people meditate to feel peaceful, but when peace doesn't come, they stop. They read scriptures to feel enlightened, but when it feels difficult, they give up. But true awakening begins when you no longer chase the light. You simply walk, and you allow the light to find you. So whatever you have chosen, whatever path you have committed to, do it with full presence. But once it's done, let go of the question, did it work? Because sometimes the answer is growing inside you where eyes cannot see. Come, sit with me. Rest your thoughts. Rest your body. Let the stillness reach you. You've come far already. You've made a decision. You've battled doubt. You've sat through fear. You've acted without chasing results. You're walking a sacred path now. But today, I must speak to you about something that every person struggles with, even the wise, even the monks, even the most determined. Emotion. Let me ask you something. Have you ever made a strong decision at night, but woke up the next morning and felt completely different? Have you ever promised yourself, I will do this every day, and after 3 days, your feelings changed, and so you stopped? This is not failure. This is not weakness. This is the nature of the human heart. Feelings change. Discipline must not. That is the lesson. You see, most people live like this. They act when they feel good. They rest when they feel low. They speak when they feel inspired. They hide when they feel unsure. But if you live by emotion, your life will swing like a pendulum. Left, right, forward, back. never steady. Zen does not tell you to fight emotion. Zen teaches you to see emotion clearly, but still act from intention, not from mood. Let me explain it simply. Imagine a man who decides to climb a hill every morning. He feels strong on day 1. He runs up with joy. Day 2, it rains. His body is heavy. He doesn't feel like going, but he remembers his decision, not his emotion, and walks anyway. That is discipline, and that is freedom. Because when you choose discipline over emotion, you're no longer a slave to how you feel. You become the master of your path. There's a saying in Zen: the body obeys the breath, the mind obeys the body, and the path obeys the mind. What does this mean? It means if you take a breath and move your body, your mind will begin to follow. And once your mind is aligned, your path becomes smooth. But if you wait for your emotions to match your decision, you might wait forever. There was once a young monk who was very enthusiastic. He meditated for 3 hours a day. He cleaned the temple floors. He helped the old monks. But after 1 month, he began to slow down. "I'm tired," he said. "I don't feel that spark anymore." I sat with him and said, "Did the path change, or did your mood change?" He was silent. He understood. The path was the same. His mind had shifted. You see, my friend, feelings are like the weather. They come. They go. You cannot stop them. You cannot hold them. But your decision, your deep, true decision, is like the earth beneath your feet. When it rains, walk. When it storms, walk. When the sun shines again, walk. That is discipline. And discipline is not cruelty. It is not pressure. It is not punishment. Discipline, in Zen, is kindness to your future self. When you act with discipline, you are saying, "I care about the one. I am becoming more than I care about how I feel right now." That is a very powerful love. Let me give you another example. Think of a parent caring for a child. Sometimes the parent is tired. Sometimes the child is crying. The parent may not feel like giving love at that moment, but they do it anyway. Why? Because love is not always a feeling. Sometimes love is action. Quiet, steady, repeated action. That is discipline. Discipline is not loud. It does not show off. It does not wait to be seen. It is the quiet hand that keeps showing up day after day because it remembers why it started. When you make a decision, especially a life-changing one, there will be days you don't feel like continuing. Your emotions will say, "Let's stop." Your memories will say, "We've never done this before." Your fears will say, "This is too hard." But your discipline, your clear, quiet, grounded discipline, will say, "Let's keep walking." And that voice must become your guide. In our temple, we have a small wooden bell that rings every morning at 4 a.m. It does not ring because someone feels inspired. It rings because we decided long ago that the day begins in silence, not in sleep. And every morning, even if our eyes are heavy, we rise. Not because we feel like it, but because we remember we chose this path. Now, I'm not telling you to be harsh with yourself. Discipline is not cold, but it is committed. It is unshaken. It is your anchor when emotions become waves. Do you remember why you made your decision? Go back to that reason. Write it down if you must. Speak it aloud. Hold it close. Because when the feelings fade, the reason remains. Emotions are guests. They will knock. They will ask for your attention. You can open the door, bow to them, even sit with them, but do not let them drive your life. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "One who conquers himself is greater than one who conquers 1,000 men in battle." What is this self he speaks of? It is the emotional self, the part of you that wants comfort, ease, approval, escape. To conquer that self is not to destroy it. It is to see it, smile, and say, "I understand you, but I will still choose what is true." That is Zen. You may ask, "Master, what if I truly feel broken one day? What if my body or heart cannot move?" Then rest, but rest with awareness. Rest with discipline. Rest not because you gave up, but because you are recharging to keep going. Even resting can be a part of discipline, if it is done with purpose, not escape. The difference is simple. Escape says, "I'll rest because I can't face the path." Discipline says, "I'll rest so I can return to the path stronger." One is fear, one is wisdom. So I ask you today, What if you could wake up each morning and act? Not because you felt ready, but because you remembered your decision. What if your feet moved, your hands worked, your mind focused, even when your heart whispered doubt? That, my dear friend, is the way of the disciplined soul. And such a soul is not cold or mechanical. It is soft like water, but strong like a river that cuts through mountains, slowly, patiently, powerfully. So walk in this way. Let your emotions rise and fall like clouds. Watch them, respect them, but do not bow to them. Bow only to the truth inside you, the one who made the decision, the one who keeps going, the one who walks without needing to feel good every day. Because real peace is not in comfort. It is in knowing that you are doing what is right, no matter what you feel. This is discipline. This is freedom. This is Zen. Sit comfortably. Breathe slowly. Feel the present moment like a soft blanket around you. Today, I will tell you about a truth that many miss on the path of decision. You see, when you say to yourself, I have decided, it feels like a solid thing, doesn't it? Like a rock you have thrown in the river. It should sink and stay there forever. But the river flows on, and the rock moves a little with every wave. So too with decisions. They are not one-time acts. They are living moments flowing with time. Every step you take after deciding is a new decision. Every breath you breathe is a choice to continue or to turn back. Do not think decision is a single event. It is a river that moves and changes as you flow with it. There was a traveler who decided to walk across the mountains. On day one, he was full of energy. His feet were eager, his eyes bright. But by day three, the path was harder. The weather changed. His mind began to wander. At that moment, he did not say, I decided already, so I don't need to think. No, he said, I decide again to keep walking. And so he did, again and again. This is the truth. Decision is not a static thing. It is a continuous process. In Buddhism, we call this mindfulness, the art of being aware of every moment as it unfolds. To be mindful is to see clearly that you decide again, moment by moment. Let me tell you another story. A monk was asked, Master, how do you stay on the path so long? He replied, because every morning I decide again. This sounds simple, but it is very difficult. Why? Because the mind is always pulling you away. Yesterday's confidence disappears. Today's challenges appear. Tomorrow is unknown. If you rely only on past decisions, you will stumble. Instead, become like a river flowing with decision, not frozen like ice. When you wake up, the first step is a choice. When you eat, the choice is there again. When you feel tired, the choice returns. Each moment asks you, will you keep your decision or let it go? And this is the power of presence. To know that your decision is alive. To honor it with each breath. But the mind resists this. It wants to rest on certainty. It wants to say, I decided yesterday, so now I can relax. But life will not allow rest in false security. So you must learn to decide in the moment. This is the meaning of the famous saying, fall 7 times, stand up 8. Each time you stand up, you decide. You recommit. You become strong again, even if your legs shake, even if your heart falters, because each step is a new moment. And life does not reward the one who decided once and never moved. It rewards the one who decides every day, every hour, every minute. You might wonder, how can I decide again and again? When I get tired, yes, you will get tired. Yes, you will feel weak. But that is why you practice. That is why you return to stillness. Because the strength to decide again does not come from willpower alone. It comes from the quiet well inside you, the well that never runs dry. That well is your awareness. When you bring awareness to your steps, your decisions become natural. They flow like the wind, effortless yet powerful. When you forget awareness, you become lost. You stumble. You doubt. You forget why you started. So train your mind like a gardener tend to flowers. Water it with presence. Remove the weeds of distraction. Let the sun of calm shine on your heart. With such care, your decisions will bloom again and again. There is no shame in stopping to rest. There is no weakness in pausing to breathe. But do not mistake pause for quitting. Pause is a new beginning. Pause is a new decision. And that is why the path is not a straight line. It is a circle, a spiral, a dance. You do not move forward and never look back. You return to yourself again and again. This is how the great masters walked. This is how Buddha reached awakening. Not by deciding once, but by deciding every moment with full heart. I want you to see something very important. You may have heard people say, just decide once and stick to it. But if that means ignoring yourself, ignoring your growth, ignoring your present moment, then that is not true decision. That is stubbornness. That is rigidity. And rigidity breaks. True decision is flexible. It holds firm like a tree whose branches bend in the wind but do not break. So what do you do when a moment challenges your decision? You pause. You breathe. You decide again. And if you choose to change your path, that too is a decision. There is no shame in changing course, as long as it is done mindfully. Change is part of life. Change is part of growth. But the important thing is to be aware that you are deciding, always deciding. This presence, this mindful choosing, is the secret to walking the path without losing your way. Imagine you are walking on a narrow bridge. Each step you take requires your full attention. If you look too far ahead, you might fall. If you look only at the step behind, you might stumble. But if you look down gently, just where your foot will land, you will walk safely. This is the practice. To decide with awareness. To act with presence. To move step by step, breath by breath. When you do this, your path becomes clear, even if the road is rocky. You will find joy in the journey itself, not only in the destination. Because every step you take, every decision you renew, is a moment of awakening. A moment where you say, yes, I choose my path. Yes, I walk with courage. Yes, I am alive. That is true power. That is true freedom. Remember this well. Your first decision is only the beginning. Your real work is to decide again, and again, and again, like a river flowing to the sea, always moving, always changing, always becoming. So when you feel tired or lost, remind yourself, I decide again now. And with that, take your next step. Sit with me a while. Feel your breath flow in and out like a gentle wave on the shore. There is a truth that all who walk the path of decision must meet, and it is both simple and difficult. The truth is this. You cannot control everything. We live in a world where control seems like power. We want to plan every step, manage every outcome, hold the future tightly in our hands. We tell ourselves, if I just control this, then I will be safe. Then I will be happy. But the more we try to control, the more we feel trapped. Imagine holding water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. Control is like that water. The harder you hold, the more it escapes. In Buddhism, this is the teaching of impermanence. Everything changes, nothing stays the same. Your plans, your dreams, even your body and mind. They're like clouds moving across the sky. You can watch them, but you cannot stop them. The wise know this and surrender to the flow of life. Let me tell you a story. A farmer had a beautiful horse. One day, the horse ran away. The neighbors came and said, "What bad luck?" The farmer replied, "Maybe." A few days later, the horse returned with 3 wild horses. The neighbors said, "What good luck?" The farmer replied, "Maybe." Then his son broke his leg trying to tame one of the wild horses. The neighbors said, "What bad luck?" The farmer replied, "Maybe." Soon after, the army came to draft young men for war, but because of his son's broken leg, the son was spared. The neighbors said, "What good luck?" The farmer replied, "Maybe." This story shows the flow of life, how events are neither good nor bad until we attach a story to them. When you decide to do something, you may feel the need to control every part, the who, the when, the how, the result. But this is an impossible task. Life will always surprise you. So what must you do? You must learn to let go. To let go does not mean to give up. It means to release the grip of your expectations. It means to act fully in the moment, and then trust what comes next. Zen teaches us to hold life like a lotus flower, beautiful, yet gently without squeezing. You might say, "Master, how do I let go if I want to succeed?" I say, success is not in control. Success is an acceptance. Acceptance does not mean defeat. It means seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. When you accept, you open the door to peace. When you try to control, you close it and lock yourself inside struggle. Let me share a practice with you. Whenever you feel the urge to control your work, your relationships, your future, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what can I truly control right now? What is outside of my hands? Most of the time, you will see that many things are not in your control. But your attitude, your effort, your intention, these are always yours to hold. This is the key. Control your effort. Release your expectations. This will not be easy. Your mind will scream to hold tighter. Your heart will fear the unknown. Your habits will pull you back into old patterns. But every time you practice letting go, you grow stronger. There's a saying in Zen, let go or be dragged. If you refuse to release control, the struggle pulls you down like heavy chains. If you let go, you move forward with lightness and grace. Let me tell you of the great Zen Master Ikkyu. He was known for his wildness and wisdom. One day a disciple asked him, Master, how can I be free? Ikkyu replied, you are caught in the net of your own making. Cut the net by letting go. This net is your need to control outcomes. You need to plan every detail. You need to guarantee results. Cut the net by trusting. Trust life. Trust the flow. Trust your decision, even when the road twists unexpectedly. Because the only true control you have is over your presence. When you are present, fully awake in this moment, you respond with clarity, not reaction. You act with wisdom, not fear. You move with calm, not tension. And even when the wind blows your plans away, you stand steady. This is freedom. Not freedom from change, but freedom within change. Not freedom from uncertainty, but freedom to walk with uncertainty. You might wonder, but Master, what if I lose everything by letting go? Listen carefully. You lose nothing by releasing control except your suffering. And you gain everything. The peace of mind to act, the joy of the journey, the strength to face whatever comes. Imagine a child playing with a toy boat in a stream. If the child holds the boat too tight, it breaks. If the child lets it float, it moves with the water, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Which way brings more joy? The same with your life. Let go of the need to control. Do your best, then release the rest. When fear arises, whisper to yourself, I cannot control this, but I can choose how I respond. When doubt calls loudly, remind yourself, I trust the flow. When obstacles appear, remember, this too is part of the path. In letting go, you find a space where true strength lives. This space is calm, open, free. You become like a tree that bends in a storm but does not break. You become like water that flows around stones and finds its way. So, dear friend, today I ask you to practice this. Decide, act fully, then release. Let the river carry you. You will stumble. You will fear. You will lose control many times. But each time you let go and choose peace, you move closer to freedom. And freedom is the gift of the one who decides and does anyway. Kulme, sit near the old tree once again. Let the silence rest on your shoulders like a warm cloth. The air today is still, and that stillness has something to teach. Today, I want to speak to you about something that frightens many hearts, but also frees them. Trusting the process, even when you do not understand it. You see, once you decide, once you walk the path, once you let go of control, there comes a point where the world around you doesn't make sense. Things don't happen the way you imagined. Doors close when you thought they should open. People walk away when you hoped they'd stay. Progress slows or disappears altogether, and the mind begins to panic. Why is this happening? Did I make a mistake? Why is nothing working like I thought? This is the space where many people quit, not because they are weak, but because they are scared. The unknown feels too wide. The darkness feels too deep. But this is the sacred part of the journey. This is where trust becomes your greatest strength. Not the trust in your plans, not the trust in results, but the quiet, deep, unshakable trust that life is unfolding as it should. even if you don't understand how or why. In Zen, we call this surrender without collapse. It means you keep walking even when the map disappears. You keep planting even when you don't see the harvest. You keep breathing even when everything feels uncertain. Not blindly, not foolishly, but with a heart that says, I don't know where this is going, but I trust that it is going somewhere meaningful. Let me tell you a story. A young monk was assigned to carry water from the river each day. The path was long, and the buckets were heavy, but he did it joyfully. One day, he noticed a crack in one of the buckets. Water was leaking out on the way back. He tried to fix it, but the crack remained. He went to the old master and said, I'm wasting time. The water is leaking. This cracked bucket is useless. The master smiled and said, walk with me. They walked the same path the monk had taken each day. The master pointed to the side of the trail. Flowers had grown, bright, beautiful, in full bloom, only on one side. Do you see? The master said. You thought you were wasting time, but that cracked bucket watered the path. Those flowers would not be here without it. The monk's eyes filled with tears. This is how life works. What you call a mistake may be part of a hidden beauty. What you call wasted effort may be watering something you cannot yet see. What you call failure may be setting the foundation for something greater. But you must learn to trust the process, even when your eyes see no progress. Because understanding comes late. Trust comes first. And trust is not blind. It is seeing with the heart what the eyes cannot yet explain. Buddha said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. And what is the spiritual life, if not this? To walk in the fog, to plant seeds in silence, to wait without answers, to act with faith. Your path is not just about action. It is about faith in the unseen, that things are moving under the soil, that your effort is not wasted, that life is not punishing you, but shaping you. In the monastery, we often sit in long silence, not because we are lazy, but because silence is where the deepest understanding grows. You do not need to figure out every step. You do not need to explain every delay. You need to trust that if your heart is true and your effort is steady, something good is blooming, even if it's still underground. A tree does not complain during winter. It knows that spring will come. Can you live like the tree? Can you stand tall in your decision, even when the sun disappears? Can you keep watering your dreams, even when the soil stays quiet? That is trust. That is strength. And trust does not mean you will never feel doubt. Doubt will visit. Confusion will knock. But trust says, I see you, but I will not stop. Every time you continue in the dark, you strengthen your light. And that light becomes your guide. Now, let us look at your own life. Remember the times when something didn't go your way, and yet, later, it led to something better? A delay that protected you. A no that opened a better yes. A loss that brought you home to yourself. These were not accidents. They were the process at work. But you only saw it after. So what makes this moment different? Why not trust again? Trust does not mean you lie to yourself. It means you believe that life is deeper, wider, and wiser than your plans. It means you believe that even the pain has purpose. It means you let go of needing to know everything now, and instead, walk with quiet curiosity. Sometimes you will feel tired. Sometimes you will say, I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. Even the greatest rivers flow without knowing the way. Even the wind does not ask where it is going. It just moves. And because it moves, it shapes the world. So move. Move with trust. Move with openness. Let life surprise you. Let teach you. Let grow you. Do not shrink into fear. Do not freeze in doubt. Say to yourself, gently, I trust that what is meant for me will find me, even if I cannot see it today. Then breathe. Then act. That is how you walk the sacred path. That is how you honor your decision, even when nothing makes sense. Because understanding will come. Later, quietly, like flowers that bloom after the storm. Cool me. Sit close. Today, I want to speak to you like the wind speaks to the trees, not loud, not fast, but always present. Like breath, like water, like truth that needs no force. We have walked many steps together. You have made a decision. You have faced fear. You have acted without knowing the results. You have let go of control. You have trusted what you could not yet see. Now comes something even more subtle, something very simple, yet very hard. It is not heroic, not dramatic, not exciting, but it is the one thing that builds mountains. Quiet persistence. Most people don't notice persistence because it is not loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It doesn't seek attention, but it is there. Every morning you rise and try again. Every time you fall and get up again. Every step you take when no one claps, no one sees, no one understands. This is persistence. And when it is quiet, humble, and steady, it becomes the most powerful force on your path. You see, decisions are easy when energy is high. Commitment feels light when you are inspired. But what happens on the 100th day? When progress is invisible. When boredom creeps in like fog. When the results feel far away. That's when most people give up. But you must not, because that is the moment your roots grow deeper. Think of the bamboo tree. In the first year, it shows nothing. In the second year, still nothing. In the third, fourth, and even the fifth year, barely a sign of life above the ground. But all that time, the roots are spreading, anchoring, building a foundation beneath the surface. And then suddenly, in the sixth year, it shoots up, tall, fast, unstoppable. Was it magic? No. It was quiet persistence. Your journey may be the same. You may not see the change immediately. You may wonder, is this working? You may feel like the same person. But deep within, you are becoming. Zen teaches, dripping water hollows stone, not through force, but through persistence. It means this: you don't need to do great things in one day. You need to do small, truthful things every day. The river does not cut through the mountain by shouting. It cuts through by flowing, over and over and over again. Let me tell you a simple story. There was an old man in a quiet village who carried stones up a hill each morning. A traveler asked him, "Why do you carry these stones? It looks pointless." The old man smiled, "Because I'm building a path for my grandchildren. They may never know I built it, but one day their feet will walk safely because of these stones." The traveler laughed. "But it will take years." The old man nodded. "That's why I do a little every day." Years passed. The old man died, but the path remained, and the children walked it. That is the legacy of quiet persistence. It creates things that outlast us. It builds lives that feel peaceful. It shapes souls that can endure storms. Now, you may say, "But Master, it's hard. I get tired. I get bored. I forget." Yes, that's part of it. Quiet persistence is not about being perfect. It's about returning to the path again and again. Even if your steps are small, even if you miss a day, even if your mind screams, "This is not enough." It is enough if you return. Zen is not about doing more. It is about doing with attention, with love, with commitment. Even if you only meditate for 5 minutes, even if you only take one small step today, even if your progress is invisible to the world, it counts. It matters. Because energy put into truth is never wasted. Let me give you an image. A candle in a dark room. It does not fill the whole space with light, but stays lit. And that small flame makes all the difference. You are the candle. Your quiet action is the flame. The world may not see it, but it pushes back the dark. So many people wait for motivation. They say, "I will act when I feel ready." But that is not the Zen way. We do not wait. We show up. We bow. We breathe. We sweep the floor. We repeat the sacred, simple rituals, not because they are exciting, but because they are real. And through this repetition, we become strong, clear, steady. There is no shortcut to becoming. You must live it each day, even on days when you don't feel like it, especially on those days. Those days are the real teachers. Anyone can walk on easy days, but when you walk through boredom, through resistance, through silence, that's when your soul grows. It's like the tea we drink. You boil the water. You wait. It takes time. Then suddenly, the aroma rises. You taste the warmth, but it didn't come from rushing. It came from patience, from process, from quiet persistence. So if you're walking your path and you don't see results, ask yourself, am I still showing up? Am I still doing the work, even in silence? If the answer is yes, then keep going. You're closer than you think. And even if you're not close, you are becoming someone who doesn't quit. That is more important than any destination, because the real goal is not outside you. It is the kind of person you're building inside. Someone who decides and does it anyway. Someone who keeps walking, even when the road is invisible. Someone who knows slow is not failure. Slow is sacred. So go slow, but go. Stay quiet, but stay committed. You don't have to roar. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep showing up. One breath, one step, one act of faith. This is the power of quiet persistence. This is how mountains are moved. Come here, sit. Let's not rush today. Let the sky be your roof and the earth be your seat. Take a deep breath. Let the air move slowly in and slowly out. The path you walk is not easy, but it is sacred. You've come far. You made a decision. You've acted without needing to see results. You've let go of control. You've trusted the process. You've been persistent, quietly, and faithfully. Now a new test arrives. This test doesn't come from inside you. It comes from outside, the voices of the world. Some will praise you. Some will criticize you. And if you're not mindful, you will start walking for their words instead of your truth. That is dangerous. So today, I want to teach you something important. Walk with detachment from both praise and criticism. Because if you chase praise, you will become addicted to approval. And if you fear criticism, you will become a prisoner of opinions. But your path, your decision, it must be free from both. Zen teaches, a person who bows to both flowers and thorns does not walk the path. They crawl through it. What does this mean? It means if you keep bending yourself to what others say, whether they love you or hate you, you lose the center of your being. You become like a boat tossed in every direction by the wind. But you're not a boat. You are the ocean. Let me explain. Imagine you do something good. You act from the heart. Some people see it and praise you. Well done. You're so wise. You smile. You feel strong. Then someone else sees the same act and says, "This is foolish. You're wasting time." Now you feel hurt. You feel doubt. Did your act change? No, only the words around it did. But your mind, if it is not steady, will ride those words like waves up and down. This is suffering. In the monastery, we learn from the beginning. Praise and criticism are both illusions if you believe them too deeply. They are only reflections, not the moon. You may look into a pond and see the moon, but the moon is not in the water. In the same way, people reflect their own minds and their opinions about you. One sees light, another sees shadow. Neither is truly you. So how do you walk free from both? You stay rooted in your intention. You act from truth. You move from your center. If someone praises you, say, "Thank you," and keep walking. If someone criticizes you, say, "Thank you," and keep walking. Their words are not the path. Your decision is. Let me tell you a story. A wise monk walked into a town. People recognized him and began to cheer. "You are holy. You are enlightened." He bowed and kept walking. Later, in another village, people threw stones. "You are fake. A fraud." He bowed and kept walking. When asked how he stayed so calm, he said, "If I believe the praise, I must also believe the insult. I choose to believe neither. I know who I am. This is true strength. This is freedom." Now, this does not mean you close your heart. No, the Zen way is not cold. If someone offers kind words, accept them with humility. If someone offers feedback that helps you grow, listen gently. But don't attach your worth to any of it. You are not your praise. You are not your criticism. You are not your reputation. You are not your mistakes. You're the one who chooses, the one who continues, the one who walks. That is your real self. Many people build their identity like a house of mirrors. One mirror says beautiful, and they smile. Another mirror says ugly, and they cry. But the mirrors are not real. They only reflect what others see, not what is. So step out of the house of mirrors. Step into the open field of presence. Here, you'll find peace. Zen has another teaching. When the wind stops, the pond becomes clear. Only then can you see the moon. The wind is other people's words. The pond is your mind. If you're always disturbed by what others say, your mind is never still. But if you let the wind pass, if you don't react, if you just observe, then the pond becomes calm. And in that stillness, you see clearly. Not who others say you are, but who you truly are. Someone who made a decision. Someone who chose the path. Someone who walks, not for applause, not for approval, but because the path is right. And that is more noble than any praise. Now listen deeply. Praise can make you lazy. You might begin to think, they love me, I've done enough. And so you stop. Criticism can make you afraid. You might begin to think, they don't believe in me. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And so you stop. But your decision, your purpose, it is not made for likes or claps or comments. It is made from the silence of your soul. Stay connected to that silence. There will be times when people admire you. There will be times when they misunderstand you. Let both happen. And through it all, stay simple. Stay clear. Stay true. When you receive praise, bow inward and remind yourself, this is not why I started. When you face criticism, breathe deeply and remind yourself, this is not why I will stop. Keep doing what is true, even if no one sees, even if everyone doubts, even if the world goes quiet, because your steps are not for the world. They are for your peace. That peace comes when you stop chasing approval and stop fearing rejection. You become free, and freedom is the most beautiful gift of all. So walk like the wind, touching all, but held by none. Walk like the mountain, still, even when clouds come and go. Walk like the monk who knows. This is not about being liked. This is about being real. Let your life be your practice. Let your truth be your guide. Let your silence be your strength. Praise will come. Let it pass. Criticism will come. Let it pass. What matters is that you keep walking with clarity, with calm, with compassion. That is the Zen way. That is your way. Come sit with me one last time. Feel the earth under you. Feel the stillness that lives behind every sound. Feel the breath that rises and falls without trying. No effort, just being. You've walked a long way. You've listened. You've reflected. You've gone deep into places that many people avoid. And now, you are here. This is the end of the path we began together. But the truth is it's not really an end. Because by deciding, by walking, by returning every time you stumbled, you have already become the very thing you were searching for. You may not feel it yet, but something inside you has changed. Softly, quietly, like dawn arriving without sound. You become the decision. You become the courage. You become the quiet action taken again and again. You've become the patience that waited when the world was silent. You've become the strength that didn't need to shout. You've become the river flowing forward even when the rocks stood in the way. You've become the stillness behind the storm. This, dear listener, this is the truth I wanted to show you from the beginning. That your greatest transformation does not happen in one single moment of clarity. It happens slowly, patiently, through the small choices you made when nobody was watching. It happens in those quiet mornings you showed up. It happens in those restless nights you stayed with your pain instead of running. It happens in those ordinary days you kept going. And now look at you. You are no longer the same person who started. You have become your path. You don't need anyone to tell you you're ready. You don't need the outside world to approve or validate your journey. You have walked. You have decided. You have persisted. And that is enough. Let me tell you something deeply important. The destination you were hoping for is not a place. It is a presence. And you carry it now. Not because you found something new, but because you uncovered something that was always within you. Yes, always. Even when you doubted. Even when you feared. Even when you fell. There was a quiet light inside you. And now, through your practice, through your journey, through your gentle discipline, that light has grown. And the world may not notice. It may not clap or cheer, but you will know. You will walk lighter. You will speak more clearly. You will love more deeply. You will suffer more gently. This is what happens when you let your path shape you. This is what happens when you decide and do it anyway. You may still feel uncertain sometimes. That's okay. You may still feel lost sometimes. That's okay too. But now, you carry a compass within you. You don't need to know the whole map. You only need to know the next step and the next, because the one who takes the step is now awake. There is something very peaceful in knowing this. The world outside may remain loud, confused, chaotic, but the world inside you, it is calm, it is clear, it is steady. You have done something most people never do. You chose to change, not by force, not by fear, but by quiet intention. And now, that choice has become your nature. You don't just walk with purpose. You are purpose. You don't just follow discipline. You're discipline. You don't just practice calm. You are calm. And now, the final lesson is this. You don't need to become anything anymore, because you already are. Yes, let those words sit with you for a moment. You already are. You don't need to prove it. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to hold it up for others to admire. Just live it. Walk simply. Speak kindly. Breathe slowly. Be like the mountain, grounded. Be like the sky, vast. Be like the candle, quiet and bright. And now, before we part, let me say something from the heart. You have listened with presence. You have allowed these teachings to rest inside you. And I believe, no, I know, that something in you has shifted forever. But before you leave, I ask for a small act of return. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. If you found peace in these words, if even one sentence touched your soul, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven, because the world needs more light. And when you support this space, you help that light reach others who are still lost. You are not just a listener. You are a part of this path now. You carry these teachings. You are the proof that calm's strength exists in this world. You are the living example that softness is power. That quiet can be louder than noise. That slow can be stronger than fast. That surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. So now I bow to you, not because you reached the end, but because you walked the way. And you did anyway, even when it was hard, even when it was lonely, even when it made no sense. You walked, and for that, you are free. Let this final breath together be a promise that you will continue to live in this truth, that you will continue to return when you forget, that you will be the calm in the storm, the stillness in the noise, the gentle flame in the dark. You are ready, not because you finished the journey, but because you became it. Now go, walk slowly, breathe deeply, and trust. Everything that was meant to awaken in you has.